Blanket the four states. Doug Heddy's going to have the latest on tonight's conditions and where we go from here. KOIM News at 10 is next. Now at 10, the snow accumulations, how much more we should expect, and just how much further the temperature will drop. All in Doug Heddy's forecast. Plus, the latest on road conditions, slide-offs, and what you should know before you venture out.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
The snow has been steadily falling today, piling up in many communities across the four states, still falling in some areas. These are live pictures, all live views of snow-packed roads. In fact, snowplows have been working to clear the way, but roads remain treacherous and authorities want you to stay home. In some areas, the only movement on the roads is a bitter wind. Temperatures continue to plummet, the snow accumulations and danger continue to climb. This is KOIM News at 10. I'm Dow Quick. We're going to have more on the road conditions, health hazards, and what you should know to protect yourself and your family in a bit. But first, let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy.
Hey, Dow. Yeah, of course, it is dangerously cold outside, and we're going to see that as we go through the overnight hours for us tonight. We still have this back band of light snow, which is rotating through right along the I-44 corridor. So we are still getting some light accumulations along I-44 and south, and we are going to continue to see that over the next couple hours. Once we pass midnight, then we transition to just kind of blowing and drifting of snow. I just went outside, and there are some 2, 3, 3.5 foot drifts in spots, so watch out for those. But most of the accumulating snow is pretty much done as this back band is currently working through. A little bit too much dry air worked into this one in the upper levels earlier today. So we did get the banding of snow where I was thinking we would get 1 inch per hour, but instead we were getting about 1/2 inch per hour. So it dropped our amounts. So most areas we ended up below where we should, but it's okay. I'm a snow lover and I still like my 6.5 inches that we have officially in Joplin. You can see this back band, Springfield pushing through Joplin down through Neosho and also about Grand Lake, but it's clearing out once you get out towards Chanute, Yates Center, and Independence. Chanute, you guys are the big bust. You guys mainly under 2 inches. Everybody else 2 to 4 in southeastern Kansas. Pittsburgh to Joplin, 4 to 6 inches. I just measured at my house. Just went outside about 5 minutes ago, and we're at 6.5. And then a little higher amount, 7, 8 inches once you get over towards Springfield. So yes, a very good snow. And the roads they're snow packed with this light fluffy snow. It compacts into the ground. So even if you plow it, it's hard to get it off the roads. And not to mention it's 5 degrees outside. Temperatures are going to continue to drop through the night. Snow works out, but we're going to continue with the flurries. But the actual temperature down near zero and our wind chills near -20 as we get into tomorrow morning. And the cold air, it's not going anywhere. So we're going to have to talk about that here in just a bit.
If we must, I guess we will. Doug, thanks. A lot of people, this is a wrong video, but we can tell you a lot of people who tried to travel on I-44 today wish they hadn't. Again, this is the incorrect video. Authorities received multiple reports of slide-offs along the interstate in southwest Missouri and in northeast Oklahoma. At one point, the Missouri Highway Patrol shut down westbound I-44 at MM11 near the Missouri-Oklahoma line for an extended duration. KOIM Shannon Becker covered the interstate today where conditions led to more than a dozen semi-truck crashes. The Highway Patrol recommends drivers continue to seek an alternate route and prepare to seek shelter as temperatures continue to drop. The dangerous road conditions extend south of us into northwestern Arkansas. This is video from the Fayetteville area. The Arkansas Department of Transportation has around 2,200 crew members working and will use more than 15,000 cubic yards of salt for this storm, they say. The Arkansas National Guard has also been mobilized to help in the support efforts. Dave Parker with ADOT says, quote, "It's just going to be a very, very, very tough week travel-wise," end quote. Emergency response services are on standby for accidents. The Labette County Sheriff says people there have been taking precautions and staying off the roads, and his department has seen minimal accidents. The sheriff says if you have to travel, it's best to be prepared in case an emergency strikes.
I need to have a kit in the car that includes like a blanket, water, phone charger, a shovel for sure, Also, they'll need to stay in their car.
Sheriff says it's important to stay off roads to avoid an emergency, especially because the extreme weather conditions can increase emergency response times. If you do have to leave the house under these extreme conditions and find yourself in an accident, again, experts say there are items you should have, also safety measures you should follow to keep yourself and others safe. KOIM's Lonnie Walton has that story.
First thing you want to do, stay in your car.
Master Trooper Gary Bowles is a Kansas City patrol officer. He says it's a good idea to stay inside during these wintry conditions, but if you can't and you happen to crash, he says you shouldn't worry about assessing it. By all means, you should stay in the vehicle.
You're not in water, you slide off into the ditch, or somebody rear ends you, stay in your vehicle. That's where you're safest. Keep your seatbelt on.
AAA spokesperson Nick Shabaria says the same thing.
Especially if you're on the side of the road, staying inside your vehicle, you're going to be more visible to other drivers than you would be if you alone as an individual were out on the side of the road.
Trooper Bull says there are things you can do while you're still in your vehicle.
And gather your driver's license, your insurance, call 911, and report it so that we can get there and we can help you out.
Shabaria says if you can get to a safe place, getting this insurance should be just a snap of a photo.
A photo of their license and their insurance card, and that's generally has you covered.
With that said, should you report all crashes?
Reportable accidents are $1,000 worth of damage. With vehicles now, that's almost every crash.
Trooper Bowles, who have been in law enforcement for 15 years, says it's the same story just about every time when it comes to crashes.
It's very clear that if we would have slowed down, left with plenty of time, drove with caution, that we probably could have made it there.
Reporting in Joplin, I'm Lonnie Walton, KOAM News.
Shabaria says to avoid these crashes, you should leave 4 to 8 car links between you and other vehicles. You can get the latest road conditions and power outages across the area anytime through this QR code. It'll direct you to links on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com, for information for each of the 4 states in our viewing area. We're going to be checking back in with Doug Heddy in a few minutes for the latest on the storm and what we should expect next. But first, Joplin authorities make an arrest in last night's shooting.
Casino is the place from the post office in beautiful downtown Fort Scott.
We have an update now to a shooting investigation in Joplin. Police have arrested one man, Jahaven Crumpton, in connection with the shooting, which happened last night around 6:30 on Florida Avenue. JPD responded to 911 calls in reference to gunshots. When they arrived, police found a male victim with gunshot wounds. They took him to a local hospital for treatment, and at last report, he was listed in stable condition. Crumpton has been arrested on charges of first-degree assault, second-degree assault, and armed criminal action. President Trump and Elon Musk made their case in a joint interview that aired earlier this evening as the administration pushed to overhaul the federal government. The president also signed more executive orders. Erica Brown reports from Capitol Hill.
That's right.
President Trump and Elon Musk sat down in their first joint interview that aired Tuesday on Fox News, focusing in part on the Department of Government Efficiency tasked with shrinking the federal government.
Those executive orders, I sign them, and now they get passed on to him and his group and other people, and they're all getting done.
Thousands of federal employees have been fired in recent weeks, with additional cuts expected soon. In a victory for the Trump administration, Judge Tanya Chutkin ruled against 14 states that sought to block DOJ from firing employees or accessing data from 7 federal agencies. CBS News has learned DOJ workers are also seeking access to the IRS database.
One of the biggest functions of the DOJ team is just making sure that the presidential executive orders are actually carried out.
President Donald Trump, please come down and see what's really going on.
The cuts have sparked pushback from a union representing government workers in Florida, including several probationary employees who were fired from their jobs at a veterans hospital in Tampa.
People that are the heroes behind the scenes. Everybody looks at the physicians and nurses, and they're very important too, but the people that support the hospital, they're the ones that's being harmed.
Earlier, President Trump signed additional executive actions aimed at making IVF more accessible and calling for more government transparency.
These are treatments that have become unaffordable for many Americans, or have been unaffordable for many Americans.
President Trump also announced on social media that he's firing any U.S. attorneys remaining from the Biden administration, saying he needs to, quote, clean house immediately and restore confidence. Erica Brown, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The acting Social Security Commissioner has resigned after those tried to get access to sensitive records. NTSB representatives have arrived on the scene in Toronto to help with the investigation after a Delta Airlines jet crash landed yesterday at Toronto Pearson International Airport. Chris Van Cleve has the latest on the investigation.
Late Tuesday, investigators in Toronto announced they had recovered the 2 black boxes from the Delta Endeavour airplane that crash landed yesterday. That's the voice recorder and the data recorder. Those are key pieces of evidence in the investigation. From here, those investigators will look to recover anything they consider to be perishable evidence, things like data that may be in other pieces of the flight controls, the avionics in the cockpit. They'll want to download that. They're also going to harvest whatever video they can find, including 2 pieces of video that we have seen surface here. One from TMZ that shows the plane landing from behind, and then another piece of video that appears to be shot from the cockpit of another airplane, showing the plane coming in on what is a hard landing, it appears, and then perhaps the right rear wheel collapsing before the plane turns into a fireball briefly. Those pieces of evidence will also be important here. Investigators are going to look at the pilot behavior as well as the environment. We know that it was a cold, windy day, that there were significant wind gusts. How did the conditions factor in to what went wrong? What made this landing different than the successful landings of other planes that happened just minutes before this one? That is now the big question for investigators.
We do expect that the investigators on site will be reviewing the aircraft on its current configuration on the runway for the next 48 hours.
Also, 2 people remain hospitalized. There were 21 injured. 2 remain hospitalized. Their injuries now described as non-life-threatening. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Dallas.
Doug returns next with the latest on the storm and what lies ahead.
We're here to help. We are the 4-state.
I choose Phoenix.
Well, of course, a very nasty night outside. We have still light snow falling, especially along and south of the I-44 corridor. First off, if you don't have to go outside, don't do it tonight. And the roads are going to stay snow-packed. And, of course, they're going to improve as we go through the daytime hours on Wednesday. But just be very careful out there. You can see downtown Joplin snow-packed across the region. We still have light snow, which is coming down. We can take a little tour here. Here's 32nd and Rangeline. Here's 20th and Rangeline. Let's go to Kansas. 69 at Kansas Crossing, and then also just south of Pittsburgh. Everything is snow-packed. So, again, with this type of snow, it's a very dry snow. It's a powdery snow, but it also compacts very tightly. Even if you're shoveling your driveway, it's very hard to get off the driveway, especially with these temperatures so cold. So, it's going to stay very slick out there. Winter storm warnings continue at least for the next few hours, as this band of light snow continues to work out. There was definitely a bust once you get up toward Chanute, 2 inches of snow, and then 2 to 4 from Chanute to Nevada. Pittsburgh, 4 to 6 to Joplin. At my house, I measured here about 15 minutes ago, and we're at 6.5 inches. Around the Joplin Metro, I've been looking at amounts anywhere from 6 to 7, some 8-inch amounts. So we came up a little shy. The storm system underperformed just a little bit just due to some dry air that kind of worked into the system, but still very pretty snow. Unfortunately, now we have to deal with the other aspect of this storm. That's going to be the Arctic air. Look at the bands of light snow still pushing off toward the east. Still snow from Springfield, Branson into northwestern parts of Arkansas. But look at these temps. So we go all the way down near 0 by morning. So I've been trying to remind you guys, but if you are not dripping your faucets, you definitely need to do so with this extreme cold and not going above freezing until Saturday. That's a big potential to have frozen pipes. We don't really warm up tomorrow. We have a lot of clouds. We have light snow showers. We have flurries, not really any accumulating snow, but snow kind of spitting out there. High temps only right around 13 degrees. And then check this out, near record lows tomorrow night as we dip back to about -10 to -12. We're sitting at 5 right now, which is not much better. And it's still windy. We're going to have those winds gusting 20 upwards to about 25 as we go into tomorrow. So that means wind chills about -20 by morning. And even during the afternoon, they're still sitting at -6, -7 degrees. 2 in the morning, 8 by noon, 13 for a high. Let's go down the road a little bit. We get back into the 20s by Friday, which is sounding pretty good right now. Alert day tomorrow and alert day Thursday due to the extreme cold. Only 13 tomorrow, -9 tomorrow night, 15 Thursday. Finally, we should get above freezing, hopefully, by Saturday.
Wow, you're teasing us. First all the way up into the 20s and then above freezing.
I know, pretty balmy.
Yeah, I guess. Thanks, Doug. Hey, even if you're maybe staying off the roads as recommended, you might still try to find an excuse to be outside, shoveling snow, maybe eventually even building a snowman. Yeah, well, with these temperatures right now, medical professionals in the 4 states warn things like frostbite and hypothermia might not be far away, especially if you aren't staying dry. They say it's important to consider your safety at times like this.
There's no warning for hypothermia other than it's very cold, you start shivering, you then can become delusional, you can stop shivering, and then freeze.
If you are going to be out, they say it's important to try to limit how much time you're out. They also say you should make sure you have on plenty of layers, including things like hats and gloves and warm socks. This weather's unfit for man or beast. If you take the pet out, remember, they can suffer too. Let's go to KOIM's Tanya Bach in Pittsburgh.
Hi, Dow. It's still lightly snowing here in Pittsburgh tonight, and it's about 4 degrees outside right now. Benny and I just came outside to have our evening adventure, which is a must-do if you have a dog. You have to go outside and take care of business from time to time, but be careful how long you spend outside. Experts say frostbite can develop on their paws in under 15 minutes. You want to be very careful with your pets and make sure that they stay inside as much as possible. I'm also out here in front of Pittsburgh Middle School, which is one of many schools across the area that will once again be closed again tomorrow, which will give crews a chance, an opportunity to spend the day after the snow ends, clearing all the streets, because we got quite a bit down now. For now, back to you.
Tanya, stay safe. You can also get an update list of area closings on our website. Just scan this QR code for school, government, church closings, and more. Once you're there, you can also find instructions on how to submit other closings. One place that says they'll be running normal hours is Freeman Health System, or at least part of it. The healthcare provider says tomorrow all inpatient, clinical, and hospital services will run as normal at Freeman Health System West, East, and Neosho. Conditions for reopening other locations will be reassessed in the morning for potential delayed openings. Still ahead, a look at the MIAA basketball standings, just a couple of weeks away from the conference tournament. And the winter weather continues to cause Pitt State baseball to adjust its schedule. John Dales has those stories and more up next in sports.
Hey, and welcome into sports. I'm John Dales. We've got another night full of cancellations because of the snow. However, college basketball action looms on the horizon, and the Pittsburgh State women are riding a 14-game winning streak, which consequently has the Gorillas in first place in the MIAA's KPI standings. Those are the ones that will determine the seeding for the conference tournament in a couple of weeks. And here's a look at those rankings. Just a reminder, this metric, KPI, is being used instead of wins and losses to determine the tournament seeding. Gorillas were third in these standings last week before beating Missouri Western soundly on the road. Missouri Southern in 9th place, and only the top 10 teams will make the MIAA tournament. On the men's side, this week has been kind to Pittsburgh State as well. The Gorillas men are on a winning streak of their own, which now stretches to 4 games, and that has them in second in the KPI rankings. Missouri Southern struggling a bit right now. The Lions have lost 6 of their last 8. as we show you the top 12 in the MIAA's KPI rankings, you can see the Lions have some ground to make up if they want to participate in the conference tournament. They're behind Newman and Emporia State for that 10th and final spot. PSU in second place, an improvement from last week, but still a good amount behind Washburn in first. Switching gears to college baseball, Missouri Southern's Cole Gaiman is named MIAA Pitcher of the Week. This comes after the Lion right-hander throws 6 2/3 shutout innings in a 2-0 victory over Drury on Saturday. Gaiman racked up 8 strikeouts in that contest, and he's 2-0 to start the season. We just saw the Lions beat Missouri S&T yesterday. Pitt State baseball, on the other hand, has another weather-related schedule change. The Gorillas were supposed to play at Oklahoma Baptist today. That's been indefinitely postponed, according to PSU Athletics. The teams will attempt to make this game up later in the spring. Now, the Gorillas have had to deal with multiple changes to their schedule. This is now 4 games in a row that haven't been played. PSU had a 3-game series against Maryville get canceled over the weekend. They're scheduled to play their MIAA opener against Emporia State this Friday at Al Ortolani Field in Pittsburgh. That's it for sports. We're back after this.
Hi, this is Alan with Wayside Furniture in Joplin, Missouri.
You know, Doug, I know you say that this storm underperformed a bit, but by some measures it performed plenty, and it's not quite over yet.
Yeah, it definitely did, especially with the cold air. And we do have spots in South Joplin that got 8 or 9 inches. So we did have some areas that did hit the mark. But again, the roads are going to be very, very slick as we go through the rest of the overnight hours tonight. Alert day on Wednesday and Thursday due to the extreme cold. Wind chill by morning about -20. So stay in if you can.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's what we would all do if we can. And a lot of people will have that option for sure. Doug, be safe out there and be careful. And folks at home, thank you for joining us. We're going to see you right back here tomorrow. Make it a great tomorrow.